Hello, once more, welcome back to the cellar. Welcome back to Leopard Street. Quick one today. Don't have a great deal of time. So, I'm going to have a little look at some posts that's turned up. I'm going to talk about one or two experiments I've been quickly doing. Then I'm going to go over there. I'm going to get some of the track wiring connected. I'm going to test it. And testing it looks remarkably like running a train or two. So, yay! Anyway, on with the show. This is Leopard Street. Now, first up, some posters turned up. New camera stand for one thing. Yeah, I've got a bunch of these. These are ESP32s. It's an ESP32 that needs an antenna. There's some in boxes with antennas. A stack load more of these, which are the little PCF 8575 boards I use for input-output. Some 3D printed fencing, which has got nothing to do with the railway. Bag of infrared LEDs. Due to incompetence on my part, these are 5mm ones. There should be 3, so I've ordered some more. 3mm photodiodes. So these are photosensors. Similar to the phototransistors I've been using before. Work slightly differently, but same end result. And a bunch of these. Now, these are the sensor boards, and the plan is to take the LED and the photodiode off this, replace them with the 3mm ones with longer legs, because I want to mount them that way under the board, which means I need to bend the LEDs and that up. So I need some new ones. I've also got these. Now, I've had some electrical issues, which are due to a bit of a volt drop on the 5-volt bus. This feeds into the ESP32. Its regulator takes about 1.5 volts off that, and then it wants 3.3. So if I get a volt drop of much above about 0.2 of a volt, the ESP32 can reset itself. Well, the idea with this is I can feed that 12 volts and get 5 volts out of it. So that's what I'll have a look at. I printed some stairs. They're going to go down there, just beyond where that street light is, and the track rubber. So that's that. I have been experimenting with magnets. I've still no idea how they work. Anyway, for uncoupling of KD couplers. This is why I've got some wagons sitting up here. These are 3mm neodymium cubes. I think they're N49s in terms of strength. They do work. They're a bit of a pain. You need to get 2 of them vertically. One isn't enough, it seems. And you've got to get them lined up correctly. You then need to have 2 more on the opposite side of the track, again lined up correctly, so the magnetic force lines go across the rails. The idea is what it does is it will attract the nearest one of these to it. So that one will go that way and the one on this side will come this way. Not very reliable. So I've got those. Now these are substantially larger, and these are N52s. This is 2 hands to pull the things apart. These are very strong. They do work. Unfortunately, they also attract the axles quite heavily. I'm thinking I might be able to use them in the ends of sidings if I get sidings that aren't quite level. Like they're like rolling because this isn't quite level. Because they attract the axles, so you put one under the track and the thing will go and sit there. Yeah, you think about that. Yeah, so that's it for post. I've been sort of doing those experiments. We have a little bit more printering down here. Got some more bits and pieces. I've got some mounting screws. What are these ones here? I think these are M3 by 10s. So a couple of packs of those. More servo mounts, whatever. Turntable. Right. Let's go on with tonight's job, which is to go over there and wire up that corner. So I'm going to set up and I'll catch you in a mo. Right, so the goal for tonight, this from here to there is board A. Now, I can drive trains on this at the moment because this is all one block. There is a video on block detection coming up and why the blocks are designed the way they are. But This board here, the top section is 2 blocks, one for each track. They're already wired up down here because this little bit to there was previously wired, and the rear track to there was previously wired. Brilliant, knockout. And because this is all metal fish plate to metal fish plate, it all connects. However, this bit of track has got droppers, which terminate around here. This bit's got droppers, which are here, and then this one's got them. And they're all going to go into the terminal block, which is here. And if I do that, it should work. So I'm going to do this one tonight because this one should be fairly straightforward to do. So I'm going to set the camera up. I've also put this in and painted the top. Need to paint the bottom, which I'm not doing tonight, but that's a job. This is in because I need to fix some circuit boards under there. It's got a couple of battens of strip board. It's basically just more of this stuff. This is so I've got something to screw into, essentially. So let's get this set up. We'll start terminating some cables, and we'll see where we go. Right, now I've got this new camera stand. It makes life a bit easier. So these ones here are already terminated. Now, what I need to do is sort out the other wires. Now, these here are for the next forward track. So they're the rear track. This is the forward track. I've got 2 more over here, which are the rear tracks. So what I need to do, these are cut long enough. So if I get my hand in here without wrapping it around everything, the plan is they are both going to get fed behind that bit, and then obviously I need to untangle them so they can come around there without causing too many problems. This bit here is open frame, so I can just feed them through there. So that's those 2. I've then also got the same to do with these 2 here. These are going to come around under a bit of framing there because it keeps them out of the way. This is then going to come around here into these 2. Ooh, these are a bit short. Yes, rather frustratingly, I think I've cut those very, very slightly too short. There is a bit of slack on the bottom of the connector. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to move the terminal block over a little bit. But these 2 brown wires, and this one here, these need terminating individually. So how many terminals have I got spare on this thing? I'm just going to duck under the board and have a little look, which means moving an awful lot of stuff out of the way, as always. It's rather depressingly common here. If I try and do anything, I end up having to move everything in order to get to it. So yes, let me just... I'm just scrabbling around under the board, moving some boxes. I've then got an air compressor that needs moving. One of these days I need to put the wheels on this, because it's supposed to have wheels and it's quite heavy. So yeah, put that down there. So yes, that. Lovely air compressor. I've never used it. So what I now need to do is I just need to have a little look under here, because I need to see how many spare terminals I've got. I found a wire brush. Amazing what you find when you're not looking for things. Right, let's have a look. How's that connected? Right, so each of these terminals here has got a connector going into it. So I can put another one in, but I can't put more than one more in. And I've got a spare blue terminal there. Right, so the reason I want to know that is because what I'm going to end up doing is get my crimping tool here. I did connect that one. I'm going to disconnect it and throw that bit away. Reason being, I'm going to have to connect 2 of these. Cut the end off, which I didn't want to do. Never mind. Okay, 2 of these into one crimp. So that's that. And that is the rear rail. So I now need the ones here that are the rear rail, which are, just make sure I get the right ones by tugging on them. That's this one. So I need to strip the end of this, which again I'm going to do the same way. Try not to cut this one short because it's not really long enough. Right. What I'm now going to do is cheat slightly. That has to come under there. Just wondering if there's a way I can make this. There is a way I can make this particular one work slightly better. I'll have to bring it around the front. Basically here, and what I'll have to do is cut a little notch in that. I'll do that. I'll do that first. I'm just get the saw. And of course, getting the saw means I've got to move the air compressor again because it's in the way. Such is life. Right. What I'm going to do is use a tendon saw. I'm going to cut a little notch in this. Doesn't have to be much. Actually, if I cut it on a V, it'll probably work better. And then cut it upwards like this. And this is entirely my own fault for not measuring the wires properly. There we go, there's a little notch. The thinking being, when I eventually put a retaining wall across the front of this, they can sit in there, so that's fine. So what I now need to do is take this through here. So I've got... See, doing this means I don't need to move the other bit. So if I've got both of those there, I'm going to take these two wires and twist them. Twist them together. And let that sit there for a sec. I'm going to get one of these, which is a spade connector. That is going to go onto there. What I'm going to do is just put a little bit of a kink in it. It helps hold it, basically, is why I'm doing that. That goes into there. And one of these comes around here, goes onto that, and crushes down on there, and I do tend to do it again. And that's that one. That's now ready to fit. I've got a blue wire there, which is ready to fit. I've got to get this other one. Also needs crimping, but this is on its own because it's on the other circuit. Just make sure. Yes, that's on the other circuit. Just making sure. And this one is overly long, so I'm going to trim it down a bit. I'm trying to avoid mountains of excess wire under the board if I can. So let's take that off there. This one is also twisted and then bent double, because even though these red crimps are basically the smallest ones I've found you can get, they come in basically red, then there's blue, and then there's yellow for different gauges of wire. This is 1602 wire, and this is a bit small for it, so if I bend it double it fits. And that's that one. Go down there. Now the blue wires are also going to get joined together because they've got to go into a shared terminal. So again, trim that. I shall go around here so you can see what I'm doing again. Do the end of it. This is going to be another one that gets two into one wire. So a bit of a twofer, but there we'll go. That's that, and this one here is about the length it needs to be. So, I sort of thought I might as well get this done. This is, I don't have a huge amount of time tonight. This is a fairly simple job. So again, twist those together. doubles the wire thickness up a bit, kinking it again. Another one of another one of these terminals. Now, you don't have to use this sort of spade terminal. I mean, you don't have to use terminals at all. You could use, you could put a ferrule on the end of this. You could just decide, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to put wires straight into the terminals. And that works. Nothing wrong with that. What I found with doing this is it's a little bit more secure. It's slightly easier to work with when you're working under a baseboard, which I will be in a sec. And then it goes nicely. Right. So I'm now going to position this like this, so you can zoom in a little. You'll be able to watch what I'm doing. Let me just lower the camera slightly. Apologies for it moving all over the place while I do that. So yeah, I'll just put that. Yeah, level you off. I'm not sure if I can get this. I'm just going to go out of zoom so it's not quite as nauseating. I'm just trying to get the camera lower on this little octopus type connector. There we go. That's probably better. Level you over a little bit. There we go. Right, that should make life a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing. I now need my screwdriver. I've got here. And I now need to go under the board and try and fit all of this. So I'm going to go down here. You'll probably see hands and things poking up. And to those of you who've suggested putting lights under the baseboards, yes. Yes, I need some lights under here. Right, so this is a blue connector. So what I need to do is that. And then I've got, wherever it ended up, here we are, a blue connector. It comes up here. Now the blue, as you might have guessed by the fact I twisted all of the wires sort of together, the blue is the common return, so to speak. If this was a DC layout, it isn't, it's DCC. However, life is made a little bit simpler. Right, so I do have another blue wire here, which I need to go in. Yeah, life is made a little bit simpler by virtue of the fact that despite everything you can see, all the evidence of your own two eyes, this is a DCC layout, so it's just two wires, which is really good. Unfortunately, it's two wires cut into an awful lot of long individual sections that then need joining together. So yeah, just two wires. I like DCC, honest. Come here, get onto that bit of wire. So that is all of the blue terminals done. This is why I'm doing this section tonight, not anything else. This section, the track's already powered. This is really just about adding reliability. So, right, block 5 is the rear. So that is the forward block, which is block 4, which is this one. So what I need to do here is undo that and that wire into, take that one out. Yeah, this is one of those annoying situations where everything is in the way of everything else. So that goes into there, that goes into there above it. You can, this is what I found with these terminal blocks, you can pretty much get two terminals in on each side, which is really rather useful. Right, and then the other one is going to be rear block, which is this one. Well, I just got that the wrong way around. just looking at this, I've just got that completely the wrong way around. Ugh. And this is why we test things, not to find a point on it. Right, so that is block 4, which is the forward section, which is this terminal here, not that twin terminal. Yeah. Just trying to get in here. If I can get that in there as well, that should work. Now, what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to do some continuity testing. Now, things I know, I've got brown and blue wire rails all the right way around, so I'm not too bothered by that. What I'm concerned about is, have I got everything going into the correct terminal, if that makes sense. So that goes that way up. So yeah, you can get 2 of these into a side, I've found, which works quite nicely. And that then goes there. Screwdriver. Right, that should be that done. Right, and the next thing I need to do is pop back up here, and I need to lower the control panel. And the reason I need to lower the control panel is I need to make sure I've got those correct. So that should be wired. Let's put those cables there out of the way slightly. I've got my meter, which perhaps 1 in a million chance is actually where I needed it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pick you back up, extend these legs back down again. Rather like this thing. I'm going to put this over here. Try to get you angled correctly again. So what I'm going to do very quickly is a continuity test. Now, as I've said, this has got metal rail joiners, so I already know all of this is going to be common. What I'm checking is it's not common with the other one. Now it will, the 2 blocks will be common with each other. This is because they all go to a common power source. So what I now need to do is switch the layout on. So what we're going to do, I'm going to find the remote control that turns the layout on, and we're going to look at this board. Now pay attention to this one here. So I do that. They all light up and then they all go out. And then this over here is resetting itself constantly, which it shouldn't be. So I'm going to turn that off again and get the remote to work. Try again. Turn that on. And this is indicative of some of the power problems I have with this layout. So I'm now going to have a little look and see what on earth is causing that. Now it's normally a loose cable somewhere. So I'm just going to try that again. Right. I found it. This wire here that feeds the ESP32 is loose. So I'm going to fix that while I'm here as well. This is where this camera stand fails. Yeah, anyway, hang on a sec. I'm going to get that fixed. All I'm going to do is re-terminate that wire. Now, this is the problem I've got. Let's turn around here. We can see what we're doing. Zoom in a bit. The camera there. See how that wire's all bunched up? That's why it wasn't secured properly in the crimp. So I'm going to fix that. Okay, I've taken the connector off. One was loose, the other's a bit loose. So, yeah. Now, I'm doing these one at a time. so I don't forget. Found the various crimps I need. Those are grey ones. Probably white ones for this. Oh, I'm going to have to order some more white ones. Okay, I'm using the grey ones for this. I'm hoping these will work. Yeah, this one here first. I've got to order some more. Crikey. Used a whole box of them. Okay, right. That's there. That holds. Yeah, this was loose. Or the spade terminal was loose. I mean, to the point it just fell off. So that is a dodgy connection. I'm hoping that was the source of some of my reliability issues. We shall see. Obviously, what I'm now going to have to do, I'm not doing it tonight, but I'm going to go around all the other boards and check whether they have got the same problem. Right, so, yeah, it's a bit awkward to show this. So this is just a little power feed. Goes from the board controller up here. So I'm now going to reconnect that, and we shall return. So do that. See if the layout powers up correctly this time. No. Right. Okay, that means there's another problem going on here. This board has powered up. This one hasn't, which is interesting. So I get this back. You can see power off, power back on. Oop. Right, it's now powered. No, it's gone down for a restart. It's powered up again. Again, stay stable. No. Right. That tells me there is a problem somewhere else. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try. What I've just done is plug that out from one of the other boards, which I'll need to put back in at some point. But that now seems to have powered up. Now, I've made another little check round while I was offline as well. What I've done is make sure all these loose wires aren't contacting anything. So there's some there, there's some there, there's some here, and there's a load around the other side. And what I'm now going to do is try and turn on the relays. And they seem to have powered up quite nicely. Right. The next test. This was supposed to be a really simple little job I was trying to do tonight. Anyway, never mind. The next test is going to be to drive a train onto there. I need to do this on both tracks. If I remove a couple of coaches and remove a brake van that I've been using for testing, I have the G5 on the inner track, and I've got the Flying Scotsman with a couple of coaches on the outer track. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring them around, and I'm going to keep an eye on the block detection board because I want to make sure that things come on where they're supposed to. So I'm going to go to the PC and start that going. Right, G5, where are we? G5 black. Sound on. Whistle because I can. Anyway, I'll come back to the G5 in a minute because she's just decided she's not going to make contact with the track over there. So I shall try the Scotsman and see if she'll do it. See if she'll play. Not to go too fast. So she's going to come up, go around in reverse. And what I'm checking for this side is I'm wanting to see whether or not I've got anything on the block detection board. And I have. For whatever reason, it's not showing up on Panel Pro, but anyway, never mind. So she's going to continue to come around here. Yeah, okay, so forward again. And I'm just going to see what happens here. Right, I suspect the block detection board is picking up. And it's picking up. For reference, what I'm checking here is that the lights come on. So I've got block 4 is the forward track, block 5 is the rear track. So that's working. What I'm going to do now is persuade her to rumble forwards. And because I can, I'm going to put a couple of coaches behind her. Why not? Yeah, I suspect what I've done, I think I never got round to putting board A's upper 2 tracks into JMRI. Basically, because there was no need to. They were such short stubs. They didn't do anything. So that's a job for the future. Right, let's see if I can get her running around here as well. Yeah. And while she's running around, you can't see this, but part of my display board around here is going absolutely haywire. I've got something else that's rebooting itself constantly. Although this time I don't think I've powered all the servos up correctly, so that's why they're not going bananas as well. So that works. Let's roll her back down here a little bit further. Then track power off, and yes, I've got a whole range of little electrical issues going on at the minute, shall we say? Yeah, so that worked. Now have a little look at that blue LED that's flashing. I'll stabilize the camera a little bit. It's flickering. See this one here? Flickering. And there are some other LEDs up here that are flickering. That's telling me I've got a serious power problem. Something on the 5-volt power supply isn't functioning correctly. I am going to try, I'm not doing this tonight, but I'm going to try hooking up some of those other boards. This is a problem I've had. Let's just come back up here a little sec and sort this out. Yeah, this is a little electrical problem I've had for a while. Sometimes things power up correctly. Sometimes they don't. I think the issue is these links. What I think's happening, these little pins, these plug and socket, they're not really designed to be unplugged all that often. These pins, I think, have just got a little bit compressed. So they're a bit loose, which is obviously giving me a slightly dodgy power supply. Yeah, that's something for me to play with. Anyway, the goal of the day was to get this bit of track here wired in, which it now is. There's no loose cabling on this board anymore, at least I don't think there is, there shouldn't be. It's all wired in. I can drive trains on that bit. I'm going to have to sort some of this electrical problem out. That's not going to stop the next bit. What I've just done is I've got a 5-volt power supply. This comes in this onto this board here. Change to this board, change to this board, that one, that one, that one, that one. And the other board at the end has got a split feed off there. This is because I've got 6-way connectors. Now on here, I have brown and blue, that's DCC. Black is DC ground. I've then got this thicker red, this is 5-volt power. This is the one that only goes around one way. Reason for that is, on those end boards, that wire's white. And white is a 15-volt DC supply, which goes into my DCC EX controller. I then got orange, which is 12 volts, and this red one here is 5-volt logic. And the fault seems to be on the 5-volt logic side. I suspect it might be because it's the end one, it's just not, it's twisted a bit. What I'm going to have to do is go around with these. It's fairly straightforward to adjust. Basically, you take a scalpel and carefully, I can get the end of the blade to work on it, you put it in between those bits and just bend them out a little bit, makes them a little bit wider. Means it grips the other terminal a little bit better. Sometimes they go a little bit narrow. But I've got the 5-volt power, like I say, it only goes around the layout one way. Now, I'm going to be changing how this layout is wired. I've got two options. The first one I'm going to try, which is I'm going to try using the 12 volt, as I mentioned, 12 volt with a buck converter, which will drop it down to 5 volts. The boards will be getting 5 volts. Even if the input's a bit, that's the hope. These LEDs are flickering like crazy down here. The alternative is all of these are going to get removed. All of the power inputs to all of the boards will get removed. And what I'll do is over there, under board C, I'll put in another panel, I'll screw it to the wall, and I will run a cable from that panel with screw terminals, as in it won't be like this plug-in, it'll be hardwired like that side, all the way to a socket at the end, which can then plug into each board. I still need to be able to take them apart. That's part of the problem. The alternative is run them up in bundles, put spade terminals on the end, and wire them directly into the blocks, which is the other option. So if my short-term fix doesn't work, that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, the fact that this board here under the camera is going crazy with the power side flickering, well, it's not the power side, the logic side flickering, that's because it's now being fed all the way around the layout. So it is now at the end of the chain and is causing a problem. The fact that one is also flickering says that has a problem as well. That's a job for another day. Right. Anyway, that's it for this video. Yes, that was supposed to be a fairly simple job, and I was going to go make some dinner. That's just taken a little bit longer than I was expecting to. So, yeah, dinner is going to be late. Well, my dinner is going to be late. My wife's got her own and she's sorted herself out. The cats have been fed. It's just me. I need some more donuts. This is the proper t-shirt. Thank you, Faye and David. Anyway, yeah, that's it for this one. I'll be in the next one, which is either going to be trying to sort out the electrics of the layout or wiring in the board that the camera is currently sitting on, and I look at block detection. I might do the electric, but it's going to depend how I feel. Anyway, as usual, likes, comments, shares, etc. are more than welcome. I'm quite enjoying the new printer. It's working quite quickly. There's lots of stuff I want to do with that. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much, and goodbye.